Okay, so this video is going to be over how to solve differential equations. And we're pretty much just going to jump into free response because it pretty much has everything you need to know about it. Okay, so when we solve differential equations, part A says find a solution to the differential equation satisfying f of 0 is equal to 1/2. So that means find the particular solution. So we say dy dx. So this part A, dy dx is equal to 3x squared over e to the 2y. We're going to cross multiply to get all our y terms on one side and all our x terms on the other side. Okay, now we're going to integrate. So we just separated the variables and we're going to integrate. So this becomes 1/2 e to the 2y is equal to x cubed plus c. Okay, so you got a u sub over here. Now we're going to plug in our initial condition. 1/2 e to the 2 times 1/2 is equal to 0 cubed plus c. 2 times 1/2 is going to be 1. So this is 1/2 e to the 1 is equal to your c. Now, once you find your c, we're going to take it and we're going to plug it back in up here. So 1/2 e to the 2y is equal to x cubed plus 1/2 e. Okay. From there, we're going to solve for y. We're going to multiply everything by 2. Okay. And then to solve for y in the exponent, we're going to natural log both sides. Now, we're not going to put absolute values on this because we only do that when we integrate. So 1/2 natural log of 2x cubed plus e. Okay, so it says for part B, find the domain and range of this thing. You're pretty much probably not going to be asked to do this because this is an older question. But your domain of a natural log is this argument always has to be greater than 0. So we're going to take 2x cubed plus e is greater than 0. And we're going to solve for x. So we're going to subtract e to both sides. Divide by 2. And then we're going to cube root it. Your range, natural log, the y value, so if we're looking at this graph, range goes with your y value, so 0.5 natural log of 2x to the third plus e. Oops. Where's my e key? Hold up, I'm having trouble seeing. Where's my e key? Oh, it's blue. Sorry. Blue. Okay. So if I graph that, you can see that it's not going to go past 0 because natural log functions don't go past 0. If you zoom 6, oh, it does go past 0. So that probably would be a -1. I wouldn't worry about that. I would just worry about the domain, sorry. Your range, it looks like it's going to go from, your range is going to be greater than or equal to -0.5850. I wouldn't worry too much about that part. They're not going to ask you how to do that. Okay. Next one, it says we're going to do slope fields. So on a slope field, remember, we take the points and we figure out where the slopes, what are the values of the slopes. Now, they don't have to be correct. They just have to have the same, direction. Okay, so at y is equal to 1, I noticed that my slope is going to be 0. So I'm going to go ahead and fill those in like that. Okay, now I'm going to plug in the point. Let's start at 1, 0. Okay, so if I plug in a 0 here, 0 minus 1 is a negative 1 over 0. Oh, wait, sorry. I gotta think for a second. Hold up. So, plugging in the point 1, 0. 0 minus 1 is a negative 1. A negative 1 over 1 squared is going to be a negative slope. Plugging in the point 2, 0. This is going to be a negative 1/4. So a negative 1/4 is going to be less steep slope. And if I'm going to plug in this point right here, negative 1 minus 1 is a negative 2. And the bottom will always be positive, so it's a negative slope like that. Okay, now we're going to plug in the point 1, 2. Okay, so 2 minus 1 is 1. 1 over 1 is 1 slope. Okay, plug in the point 2, 2. 2 minus 1 is 1 over 4, so it's a less steep slope. And then plugging in the point negative 1, 2. 2 minus 1 is 1. So it's a positive slope. Remember, the bottom is always going to be positive. Okay, squared is always positive. Okay, part B, it says find the particular solution. Okay, so dy dx is equal to y minus 1 over x squared. We're going to cross multiply, get all our x's and y terms on the opposite side. So dy times x squared is equal to y minus 1 times dx. Move your y terms over. Like that. Now we're going to integrate. Now we have a u sub on this side, so it's du over u, so it's natural log of y minus 1 is equal to negative 1 over x plus c. Now what we're going to do is we're going to plug in our initial condition, 0. So natural log of absolute value of 0 minus 1 is equal to negative 1/2 plus c. And natural log of absolute value of 1 is 0. So if I solve for c, c is equal to 1/2. Now once I find c, I'm going to take it and I'm going to plug it in up here. Okay, so we get natural log of absolute value of y minus 1 is equal to negative 1 over x plus 1/2. The way I get rid of natural logs is I absolute value both sides. So, e both sides, sorry. So we're going to leave the absolute values like that. And then we are going to drop the absolute value signs. Whenever I drop the absolute value signs, I'll put plus or minus e to the negative 1 over x plus 1/2. And then I'm going to solve for y. Now, I'm going to have to determine which branch I'm going to be in. Okay, so I'm going to plug in my initial condition. I'm going to plug in 2 for x. So negative 1/2 plus 1/2 is 0. E to the 0 is 1. So in order to get a 0, I have to be in the negative branch. Okay. So from there, we're done with this portion, and we need to do part C. It says I want to do the limit as x goes to infinity of this thing. Okay, so as x goes to infinity, this limit right here would go to 0. Okay, so your limit as x goes to infinity is 1 minus e to the 1/2. Okay, and that's it. Now, if you want to check your answer, so 1 minus e to the 0.5 power is negative 0.648. Okay, so I'm going to plug my function right here into y equals. So 1 minus e to the negative 1 over x plus 0.5, close my parentheses. Okay, so I'm going to pick a large number. Okay, and it comes out to be really close to what we got right here. Okay, last example problem. The last example problem was a question from 2019 AP test. Okay, it's a related rates question and a differential equation all in one. Okay, so part A, it says find the rate of the change of the volume in the water in the barrel with respect to time when the height of the water is 4 feet. Indicate units of measure. So your volume of a cylinder is pi r squared times h. So when we do a related rates question, this is going to be a product rule. So dv dt is equal to pi r squared dh dt plus, write the second term, derivative of the first term. Now, your first term, dr dt is always going to be equal to 0 in a cylinder. Okay, so I have this expression right here. Okay, now it says find the rate of change of the volume of the water with respect to time when the height of the water is 4 feet. Okay, so dv dt, the radius of our barrel is 2 feet, so it needs to be 1 foot for your radius. And your height, we're going to plug into this function right here. And it says the height is 4 feet. Okay, square root of 4 is 2. So it's negative 1/5. So your answer is negative pi over 5. And that's going to be cubic feet per, what's our time unit? Our time unit is seconds. Okay, part B. It says, when the height of the water is 3 feet, is the rate of change of the height of water with respect to time increasing or decreasing? Okay, so when the height is 3 feet, we're going to plug in a dh dt. Okay, so dh dt when the height is equal to 3 is equal to a negative 1/10 square root of 3. So when the height of the water, so the rate of change of the height is what we're looking at. So it's negative 3 over square root of 10, which is negative, so it's decreasing. Okay, last part of our question is use separation of variables to find an expression for h in terms of t. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to separate the variables, and I'm going to go up here and do it. Negative 1/10 square root of h. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to divide and get all our h's on one side. And we're going to get all our other variables on the other side. And then we're going to integrate. So we integrate both sides. Integral of this is going to be 2 square roots of h's is equal to a negative 1/10 T plus C. Okay, and it says T equals 0, the height of the water is 5 feet. So 2 square roots of 5 is equal to 0 plus C. So C is equal to 2 square roots of 5. Okay, from there, we got to solve for our H. Okay, so when we solve for H, we're going to divide both sides by 2. And then we're going to square both sides. And that is how we would do this free response question. So if I'm guessing on the 2020 free response exam, I kind of like this question because it involves several different things. You have a question that's similar to this on your homework set, so make sure you pay attention to this. Hopefully you have a good night. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Thanks.